Okay, just checking the mic volume and we'll be starting soon. Hey everyone, how's it going tonight? Hope you're all having a great day, great night where you're at. I am back from the Dead 1 and checking out the update to Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice. And also going to talk about the struggles I've had when I was younger all the way up to today with mental health, personal mental health issues, and kind of struggle with this one as far as it's something I wanted to do for a long time, and not an easy subject to talk about, but one I've always felt like I needed to share my story on. Just, yeah, it's just not easy. So, here we go.
Hello. Who are you? Doesn't matter. Welcome. You're safe with me. I'll be right here, nice and close so I can speak without alerting the others. Let me tell you about Senua. Her story has already come to an end, but now it begins anew.
What's happening? It's breathing. Dead. It's breathing. It's breathing. He knows she's getting closer. He can feel her coming closer. She's getting closer. They're watching. They're watching. They're watching.
This is a journey deep into darkness. There will be no more stories after this one.
What is she doing? Why is she doing this? They're watching. Why doesn't she turn back? She's doing this for him. She wants to rescue him. He's already dead. I feel you coming. Quiet.
Oh, how rude of me. I never told you of the others. You hear them too, right? They've been around ever since the tragedy. Well, that's not quite true. Some are old, some are new, but they've changed. I think the darkness changed them, just like it changed her.
Yeah, very true.
Can you see them? Over there. Why isn't she looking? Why aren't you looking? He's in hell high.
Definitely from my personal experience with
You see it too?
mental health issues, it
Yes.
definitely changes the
It
person
is
you
real
are.
after all. She's finally arrived in the land of mist and fog.
For me growing up,
Place the Northmen call hell.
one of the things that
Go back. It's not safe.
happened when I was a kid was
It's not safe.
that I physically abused by my dad, and it took a long time, probably about 8, before my mom even figured out it was happening. Even to the point that
Look around and you'll see them.
my dad would grab my arm,
The sick,
uh,
slain. Here they lie, rotting.
he would actually grab my arm so hard that it would leave
Dead don't
bruises
always
in
lie still
the
here.
shape of his fingerprints on my arm.
This is not a place of rest.
Can't do this. Go back. Go back.
And eventually wound up trying out family counseling
They're going to do that to you.
up to a certain extent, but by the time I was 10 years old,
Stop. Can you feel
my
them watching?
parents decided that it
They're watching.
wasn't helping enough and they wound up getting divorced.
You're so close to the darkness. Go back.
Can you feel
Later
it?
on, wound up going to different psychiatrists and got diagnosed with bipolar depression
She's afraid.
and ADD. While later also diagnosed with anxiety disorder and seasonal depression.
Darkness
Give you an idea of
builds onto itself.
kind of stuff that
Growing stronger.
I've had to deal with in the past. It's
You
easier
may
to
try
control
ignore it,
now
turn away,
than it was back then,
but it's always there, just out of sight, where you're most vulnerable.
because over time I learned how to manage
Know
my
that
issues.
just enough light is all you need to see its
And
suffocating power.
for quite maybe about 12 years I was on a variety of different drugs, from Adderall to Prozac, Xanax, even tried
You might think she's
natural
brave to go on this
remedies
journey
like
on her own.
fish oil tablets can help.
It's bravery that drives her. Bravery
Yeah.
only means something to those
Went through
afraid.
about
Said it was fear.
maybe
It's far,
12 years,
far
12
too
years of therapy and probably about 10 to 12 different psychiatrists slash psychologists. See, they pretty much everyone involved in my therapy, they knew that I had anger issues and
What is she looking at?
problems controlling my emotions, but they didn't know that
She's thinking.
between the age of 10 and 14 that I was also contemplating
It's not too
suicide.
late to get into the boat and go back. No one
And
can catch her.
anytime I would try and talk to someone about it,
Oh,
that
shucks. There's
I would
no
always
one.
pose it in a way where it sounded like I wanted to understand
You can't do it.
what
And who pushes away a world that
people
has
like
brought to cause so
me,
much suffering.
like, what was the thought process?
There's nothing to go back to.
How did
Worse to
you
look forward to.
overcome it? How did other people overcome it? And
Why don't you join us?
I always seemingly got
Maybe
the
you two
answer
have a part to play
that
in this story.
that's insane. Don't think like that. Or don't think about it. Don't talk about it. It wasn't. It's still kind of a tough thing to talk about these days.
Come on, closer. She can't focus.
And
Focus. Take a closer look, Senwa.
Do not forget my stories, Senua, because your darkness comes from hell, and your fate lies there. They say the burning of a corpse will take you straight to Hela's gate, but gods and the living will follow this path. You must leave the Isles of Orkney across the eastern sea and find a road that leads north and down through deep, dark valleys. After 9 nights of riding, you will follow a great river and will find a bridge covered in gold. The path to Helheim goes from there, across the River of Knives that flows from the dark world of Niflheim.
so yeah, trying to talk to people about how others would deal with similar issues. I was kind of pretending that it wasn't me, it was someone else, or I just wanted to understand things I heard about. While all the time I was actually referring to myself that had the issues. And always kept getting that same response that you should avoid that as much as possible. And got people saying, well, that's just insane. And the whole time thinking in the back of my head, I know I'm insane. I know what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking about isn't normal. Help me find a way out of it. Help me think my way out of it. Help me do something. And I just couldn't find it.
Not this time.
So, because I couldn't talk to people, I tried looking for anything that would give me some perspective on it or help me move through it in some sense.
Land of mist and fog.
Whether that was
Was right. What was it he said?
religion, what I believed, and
The river of
video
knowledge
games,
switched
music,
the walls of hell.
just hanging out with people so you
Helheim.
wouldn't have to be alone with your thoughts. That's definitely one of the worst parts about when you're trying to battle depression or contemplating suicide. Any of those myriad of issues, if you're hearing voices in your head, or if you're having hallucinations or visions or whatever you want to
There's
call
no
it,
doubt about it.
images in your mind,
This is in Helheim.
that
And the goddess.
the
Hela.
worst time is when you're alone. Because you are in that frame of mind,
Beloved.
you already feel alone and that no one cares. When you're physically alone, it's all you know. It's all you think about.
What is she doing? Why is she doing this?
It's just,
Why doesn't she turn back?
it's hard to explain because
For him. She wants to rescue him. He's already dead.
imagining that you can be in a crowd of people or you can even be sitting down with a bunch of friends and
His soul
you're
is
still in that dark place in your mind
Save his soul. She wants his soul
where
to be
only pain exists.
She wants to lay him to rest. He's already dead. She can save him.
And
She can do.
over time, when you're stuck in that place in your mind for so long, eventually
It's too.
your mind will just
But
get
she does remember
exhausted
that only the dead may cross it.
and
That part wasn't so easy to forget.
everything gets stripped away to the point that
The old fool said there was a hidden
your
path.
heart and your emotions start to fade out and you're just numb. And then your body feels weak, like the energy is just getting sucked right out of you. And then eventually all you're left with is force of will to the point that even the worst thoughts in your mind seem normal. Even if you are at the point where you don't think they're normal.
The Northmen speak of 9 worlds. The world of men they call Midgard. Sky gods dwell in Asgard.
But yeah,
Earth harvest wind
so
and
at
dwell
that
in
point I
Valhalla.
was just looking
The
for
good elves dwell in Alfheim.
anything
The evil ones
anything
dwell in
helpful.
Svartalfheim. The mountain giants dwell in Jotunheim.
And
Fire giants dwell in Muspelheim.
at the time,
Niflheim is the world
playing
of
different games like what is that? WCW vs NWO, Revenge, Resident Evil 2, GoldenEye, you know, Red Alert, Dark Forces, any games that where you felt like you were the hero saving the day because in your mind you couldn't even save yourself. You couldn't even control those variables in your mind, where in a video game, assuming there's not bugs and glitches, which, yeah, you can just press a button and the character or the vehicle or whatever you're controlling with your controller, it just works. In your mind, it doesn't always. If something's broken, your mind won't function the way it's supposed to. But as long as the controller is working properly, the game just works. It doesn't. It's almost reassuring that you can count on it that it will work. When in your mind your whole world's crashing down, so you're trying to find something outside of yourself that's reliable. And also had music. I mean, I grew up with contemporary Christian music, what my parents would listen to, and
No, this is it.
but my sister would listen to like more pop music, and my brother would, and she listened to this kind of the same thing my parents did. Where it's all this. It's been a while since I played it. But yeah, my parents and my sister would listen to stuff like Michael W. Smith and Stephen Curtis Chapman, where my brother would listen to Christian rock, like yeah, Christian rock bands like Petra and Supersonics. So I had a good variety of music, and then I would have friends to listen to R&B and rap. So I got exposed to a lot of different kinds of music as a young age, and a variety of different bands where
It's good to see you again. You kept your vow.
Guide you in this life and the next.
where you would
I will tell
get
you
a different perspective or a different sound from wherever you listen to. So,
I may walk.
and
Tell me your stories again.
a friend of mine,
I'm listening.
when I was about 10 or 11 years old, introduced me to
Focus your inner eye.
a rock station
See what's
I lived near at the time.
I can see one.
Hold it in your mind's eye. Find one like it to open the gate.
Use your eyes. She's getting closer. She needs to look closer. Focus.
Got a good idea where that is.
It's near. Focus, and you will find it. Look towards the gate,
Go.
and the gate will open.
But yeah, my friend introduced me to a rock station in the town I lived in when I was 10 or 11 years old, and from there I started listening to
The gate is open. Go through the gate.
Go through it.
stuff like Rob Zombie, Disturbed,
Where will it take you?
It's not safe.
Metallica, a laugh, but at the time, yeah, if I remember correctly, Nickelback.
Spent 6 years
and then
in hell. But I watched the Northman.
later on finding bands like
I know you did.
Linkin Park,
Listen,
3 Days Grace,
Everyone
Breaking
else laughed.
Benjamin.
my people paid a heavy price. Carry my my stories with you,
And
and together
more
we will make the
recently,
Northmen feel
finding
our
even
fury.
more bands, newer ones. Like Wolves at the Gate.
Another voice joins us. She once tried to make them go away.
Also,
Pretend they weren't real.
Theory of a Dead Man.
When we are
I can't remember when I first heard Papa Roach. That could have been a long time ago. They were pretty popular. And then at the same time, my brother started listening more to country music.
you can stand on the
So I
edge.
wound up listening to
Pretend it's going to
stuff
be
like
okay.
Alan Jackson, Brooks and
But you know
Dunn,
that death is
Kenny
near,
Chesney.
waiting for you to make that little slip.
And
Just
one
whisper.
time where my sister came back from her youth group at church, and she said, well, there's a new band that
The world of the dead is ruled by the giantess, Hela,
that's
daughter of Loki.
coming to the youth
The
group
gods
to
feared
play
her
a show
blood,
for
bad
them.
on her mother's side and yet
I'm
much
like, okay,
worse on her
well,
father's.
what's the name of the band?
So, as a
And
child, the All-Father
said the
cast her down into
band's name
Helheim
is Skillet.
and gave her power over those who die of sickness, age, hardship,
At the time,
self-slaughter. In all of the 9
and the
worlds,
entire time I
only
was
Hela
contemplating
can
suicide,
resurrect
she
the
didn't
dead.
know.
To Hela, your Dillion was sacrificed.
And it was so difficult to
With her, you
relate
must
to
bargain.
people because it felt so dark in my mind that the typical people you would run into at church would be dressed up in suits and tie, or at the very least dress pants and dress shirt and tie. And inside I just didn't feel that put together, or that there was so much darkness and it looked different. You know, I viewed myself different than I saw the people around me. When I saw a picture of Skillet and I thought, those they're definitely a Christian rock band, but those don't look like the typical Christians I used to seeing at church.
Look at it. You have to open it.
The gate to Helheim.
So I thought if
dividing from the dead.
they almost looked on the outside like
Herself,
I felt on the inside, just
rotten goddess that rules
wearing all black clothing. And
whatever horrors lie behind that.
funny, if you go back and look at old pictures of the lead singer of Skillet, John Cooper, you'll see that
Shh.
a long time ago when I first found him, he actually had blonde hair. Where in the last few albums that they've done over the years, he actually dyes, the whole band dyes their, well, John Cooper dyes his hair black now instead of blonde. So, a little fun bit of trivia there.
You took him from me. I beg you. Let him go. I'll give you what you want. I won't resist anymore. Just give him back.
Going to die. Get dying. Darkness is coming. Surrounding you. It's
Okay.
It's nearly over. Finish it. You won. There he is. She's got her sword. Prepare your go. Attack.
Oh, jeez.
Don't give up. Don't. You did this.
A vision of what's to come. Poor Senua. The darkness does not bargain. It does not reason. It is rot. And now it has taken hold. It will spread towards her head, the seat of the soul, until there is nothing left of her. All of her suffering will have been for nothing. It's just a matter of time.
Okay. So yeah, the interesting thing about that, if the rot reaches Senua's head, her quest is over. All progress will be lost. When they asked the devs about this mechanic in an interview, their response was,
The hardest battle.
well, it really wiped your save file.
That is what.
And when they asked that question to the devs, they gave the answer
With every defeat, the dark rot will grow, and soon it will take her soul.
about if it was a real game mechanic. Their answer was, it's real if you
But
think
for now,
it's
at
real.
least she still has control of her mind,
They didn't answer the question,
and she will fulfill her vow.
really, but in the same way,
Cost.
if you think you're going to die, that's the place your mind should be, that your sickness can kill you. That essentially if you lose the battle with your demons in your mind,
lies behind the
it
gate
will
to
kill
Helheim.
you if you think it
To
will.
open the gate, you must first face the gods that guard it. The god of fire, Surt, and the god of illusion, Valravn. Spill their blood to open the gate to Helheim and enter the land of the dead. The Northmen say that in the beginning there was nothing but darkness. Bitter cold to the north, fiery hot to the south. They say the cold formed ice, which melted from the sparks from the south. The power of the darkness gave life to the dripping ice, and the first giant was born. Surt, the fire giant, has answered. He comes from a land older than mankind, and
their enemies to the ground. Find him, Senua, and spill his blood.
But yeah, another interesting thing, or at least the way it related to me and my experience,
Outcast.
when you saw the enemies, how they would disappear and reappear in combat.
For this world. Like her.
When I was going through the worst points of crisis,
Northmen.
where it literally felt like, in my mind, that I believed my entire body was just shutting down, that my mind and everything was dying. The point that I had, whether you think it was visions, hallucinations, whatever you would call it, of shadows or phantoms or demons, and I would try to fight them in my mind, but every time I went to hit them, they would disappear. But at the same time, these almost looked like ringwraiths with sharp claws, and I would swing at them in my mind and punch straight through them, but when they hit me, it would slash right through my skin. And these visions could happen at any point. It could be late at night. It could be... I'm trying to find where it go. It could be late at night, or I could be acting normal, sitting, watching a movie with my family. And nobody knew that this was passing through my head.
Don't give up.
Gotta get that timing down again. That's for sure.
Watch out! It's not over. It's not over. You can do it. He's down. Finish it. Finish it. Defend yourself. Finish this. End it now.
Yeah, it was a long time. You saw again disappearing and reappearing before I figured out that
Sweet, sickly stench of
it was my mind,
and I still hear their
because I believed that I couldn't fight back in my own mind, that I was
I heard their screams, and I still hear
destined to fail, just to be tortured in that space. And eventually got the idea that it was my mind, and I could create a way to fight back with my own thoughts, versus the literal sense of I'm just trying to hit something physically. No, this is my mind and I make the rules here. And I can change the rules because this is a place that is built in my mind. Figure out, is it? No. Let's see. Oh, probably got to be closer. There it is.
The path to Helheim is sealed to the living, but you already walk amongst the dead. Look towards the gate, and you will see that it has opened.
But yeah, and sometimes I would start to hear voices in my head where they would tell me anything from everyone hates you, you have no hope, just give in, why don't you just kill yourself?
I rode their storm of fire, death,
And at the
slavery,
start,
many
the voices would just be whispering.
you speak of.
And it would build up over time until
And I'm still
they were
here to
talking normally. And then finishing, they were screaming in my ear. Even though there was nothing there, it was all in my mind. And sometimes it would be so bad that even if I picked up a fork, a knife, any kind of power tool, anything sharp enough, that look at it and think it would be so easy, or in that state,
Find a good position.
it would be so much less painful just to give in.
You're close.
Oh, come on.
Quickly get up.
Yeah, try that again. And eventually, my thoughts got to the point where I thought, there's only two ways out of this. Either I'm gonna fight like hell and beat it, or I should just give in now, because I might as well not suffer through this if I'm just gonna give in the end. And even to the point of, I really just, no one would talk about this with me. I just had to kind of figure it out on my own. Much as how when you're trying to deal with mental health issues, there's certain, I guess what are usually referred to as triggers. I'm trying to, yeah. And triggers are pretty much anything that would set you off and put you in a state of crisis. You call it. The point that you're that close to the edge, and at any point you could jump off. Where if you learned how to avoid them, it was easier to fight back. Where you wouldn't have to fight so hard because you hadn't let the situation get to that point.
Take him down. Don't let them surround you. Behind you.
Oh, come on. To figure out how. Come on. Oh, I think I probably gotta roll out of the way of that. Yeah. Just as rough as I remembered. Fantastic looking game though. But yeah, the other thing that was good was kind of listed a lot of the bands that I used to listen to, but songs in particular, one of them that when I was looking for anybody that talked about or anything close to what I went through, what is it? The song "Down with the Sickness" by Disturbed. How it talks about abuse and the hazards of if you don't break the chain, what's going on in your family, you can just wind up repeating the cycle. That someone has to stand up and fight back if you're going to end this. Or make a change so that the same pattern doesn't keep repeating. And that's something I definitely try to do. Not saying I don't make mistakes or... You know, everybody makes mistakes, but yeah. Go, come on. On.
Finish this. Finish him.
When you see a fire gate of Surt, know that only a sacrifice will stoke the fires of Muspel and let the dead walk through.
Find the fire, Senua, to follow the path to Surt.
remember. I think it's back up here. But yeah, another aspect of what I went through was there was some pretty crazy stuff going on in the world at the time. Where double check, make sure I got the date right. Yeah. Yeah, a couple of the pretty tragic events that when I was having severe issues with mental health were both the Columbine shooting and 9/11. That as a kid trying to process that, and you're already having mental health issues and contemplating suicide, just your fear can become so overwhelming of everything going on that yeah, you just think there's no way out. I almost want to give in because I want to take control of what's going on. What's oh, just gotta remember. I remember the controls. What the heck? There isn't. Okay, that's surprising. Is there a run? Oh, LB. Okay, got that. Kind of interesting because I think before that was not in the game. Yeah, keep running.
Hell will not give you the answers you want. But you mustn't look away from the horrors it does offer. Because you cannot overcome suffering. You refuse to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, so that gives you an idea of how video games and music and some of it, and as far as friends and family helping.
Find the fire, Senua, to follow the path to Surt.
Family, your view of your family in that state is kind of interesting because
It's too far.
at least for me, I knew they cared about me. I knew they wanted me to be okay.
Concentrate on where you're going. She needs to remember the path.
But it was difficult because I didn't trust anyone to talk about it with.
The Northmen say that the defender of Muspel is called Surt, the foremost of the five
And
giants. His name means the Black One.
one of the people that really helped was
The Northmen believe that he sits at the
the youth
border
pastor
of
at
Muspel with
the
his
church I
flaming sword.
went to at the time.
And at the end of the world, he will leave his post. He will travel
And I
to
would,
Asgard and Midgard.
even though I wasn't old enough to
he
be
will
in the youth
victorious.
group, that
And then
Can't climb with that. Then I would just go up and talk to him every Sunday. Because I just wanted someone who... There was almost no reason,
The Northmen made
other than
fire
just being a nice person or
burning
making
slaves
time
like
for
me
someone,
revealed the path to
why I would be talking to him. And
I searched for meaning in their suffering, in their eyes,
find anything.
but they just screamed like...
Even to the point he almost seemed severely annoyed with me that I was taking some of his time. Okay, where am I going? Yeah, that I was taking some of his time, and he was supposed to be helping other people at the time that were, welcoming new people coming to the church, but he was always nice enough to take a few minutes of his time to talk to me about it. It wasn't even about anything serious. It could have been just mostly just random stuff, like like different outings that we go on as a church, or music or movies or anything really. And almost to the point that I viewed it as someone who cared enough to take the time and really didn't have to the point that if someone cared like that, I would be okay, because there was something pushing me to that point where I could push through the next week if you just saw someone like that would care. And sometimes it being so bad with all the issues I was going through, if I can make it one more week and talk to the youth pastor, that I would see that somebody cared enough to take the time for me, and there was a reason
because it was in the
to not kill
sun,
myself.
bright and hot, flaming, burning. Sparks that flew out
So
from Muspel became the
definitely
stars.
do not
Other
underestimate
sparks melted ice in the frozen world of Niflheim, creating the body of the first giant.
the power of being that person for someone, where
The 9 worlds. And
it doesn't have to, if you're trying to help somebody, you probably won't even know that you're helping them through a horrific state of crisis by just being there, or just being a friend, or just playing a video game with them, just hanging out with them. Because you really don't know what's going through that person's mind, what's going on in the background, where what you can see seems pretty normal. And they could just be at the point where the last straw could make them want to end it. So yeah, I mean, sometimes it's more obvious, or some people are more open, but
the Northmen say that the defender of
what the
Muspel
heck am I looking
is called
for?
Surt, the foremost of the fire giants. His name means the Black One, because he is like something burnt. The Northmen believe
But
that he
yeah,
sits at the
I'll
border of
always try
Muspel
and
with
make
his
time for
flaming sword.
people.
And
And
at the end of the world, he will lead.
part of that being because I just enjoy hanging out with different people and meeting new people and playing video games with everyone. definitely part of the fun of this hobby. And, you know, some people that's, well, even for me, it definitely is a highlight of my, okay, it does that. Didn't see that gold ring before. But yeah, and you can also kind of think of it this way. Think if you see the world as normal, where walking through all this fire, running through, choking on smoke, this is how somebody in crisis could view the world. That everything is burning and there's no hope. They're just limping through their next day. Oh, come on. Make it. No, didn't. Oh. Okay, see if I can... come on, don't get caught up on that. But yeah, eventually... I got to a point where...
I asked the gods for mercy, all of them, even theirs. None answered.
where I was strong enough to push through my own circumstances.
Defy the gods, Senua. Find your own path, like I find mine.
My gods abandoned me. I am alone.
But yeah, so... And I think it was interesting because at the time we moved back to my mom moved us back to my hometown, and she thought that was the reason why I was so happy, why I wasn't so angry anymore. Where the reality of it was, I finally found my way out of a
Worship the devourers and
4 years of living in hell,
I come from Erin, Senua,
thinking that
where I once followed my own gods. The
any day could have been my last because my mind could just give in.
Senua, I was a man of knowledge, not a warrior. To survive, I did things. Bad things. Like you, Senua. The man I once was has died. And when that happens, even gods you worship can die with you.
But yeah, and there, even to a certain point, there was there was really a point where I would think I'm I'm still in I'm still in that fight. I'm still trapped in this nightmare. And you keep fighting even though you're out of you're out of the chaos, you're out of that living hell. But you keep fighting because the fight is all you know. And it took a while for me to realize I don't have to fight anymore. I'm okay. When I say I'm okay, that's my version of I'm okay, not a normal person's version of I'm okay. Yeah, you'll definitely hear me say sometimes, well, what somebody says, well, that's normal, and I'll respond to them, well, what is normal? Because normal at one point in my life was being able to make friends, being able to process things in a normal way. My view of the world was normal. To normal was a thought at one point, no matter how crazy it sounds or how off it sounds, that normal was I could solve all my problems by jamming a knife into my throat. And most average people would not think that's a normal thought, but in a sense it was a normal thought for me at the time, because that's how lost my mind was in the crisis I was going through.
The Northmen believe that the world will be destroyed someday. They call it Ragnarok, the destiny of the gods. Asgard will be attacked by Surt and the fire giants. A monstrous wolf will swallow the sun, and the gods will fight in vain against their enemies. There is nothing they can do to prevent it, but Odin ever seeks knowledge and magic, hoping to find a way to postpone that dark day.
Yeah, it trying to figure out where the puzzle. It's pretty much have to match the shape of what the the letter you see in different hollow points. Like, see the blue letters when you get close enough to an area where you can use one. But yeah, so yeah, there are some pretty dark points where the worst thought you could possibly imagine entering your head was quote unquote normal. Oh, come on, where's the point? Pattern. Come on, trying to figure out the sync puzzle. So yeah, normal at some points in my life definitely would not have constituted as normal for the average person. But to me, that was just part of what I was going through.
Find the fire, Senua, to follow the path to Surt.
Hey, come on. Show me the way. Wait. Let's see. Oh, there it is. On the ground. I gotta probably climb back up there and get... Okay. Let's see. How do I get back up there? Hmm. Close enough. But yeah, and so over time would get a little bit easier to manage until I think I might have been probably like 22, 23 years old. And got to the point where I've been off the pharmaceutical medications, stuff you actually have to go to a drugstore for, like Prozac or Adderall and Xanax, all that stuff. I mean, if that stuff helps you, fantastic. For me, I already had bad memory issues, so occasionally I would forget to take my pills, and then I'd be going through withdrawal symptoms, and that is definitely not something you want to have an issue with. Uh, but yeah, and after I was out of that horrible frame of mind, I started to think about how I would like to help people like myself. But pretty much immediately getting the sense of, how can I find people like myself? How can I find people who want to talk about this, have experienced it? We can that there wasn't any judgment, or that it was easy to talk out about the issues that you've had in the past, issues that you currently have, or ones more recent. And I will say, definitely over time, mental health awareness has gotten drastically better. Almost, there's no real comparison to what it was before, because 20 years ago, at least I didn't see too many people speaking out about mental health awareness. Where now it's a much broader subject that gets brought up. And I think it's fantastic that we can be a little bit more open about what each of us are going through, but at the same time, we still have a far ways to go. I mean, I was lucky that I found a couple of friends right away that had gone through similar life experiences. Am I stuck? Oh, come on. Seriously? I can't. Anything? No, I'm just stuck like crazy. Great. Let's see. Resume. No. Hopefully that's saved. Pretty much couldn't move anywhere. But yeah, and over time I got more comfortable talking about my past and in hopes that I could eventually do something like this or talk to people about it, that any insider experience of mine would hopefully help them either to recognize that they're not alone or that they don't have to, that they can talk about their past, or even more important, that they could talk about what they're going through currently. Darn it. And one of the more important aspects that definitely a hope for myself, that it would be amazing if I could ever help anyone that was truly in crisis to the point of metaphorically pulling them back when they're standing on the edge. Because I am very fortunate that there were people there for me at the darkest points of what I went through.
End it now. Nearly. She's ready. Remember your training.
Yeah. Dang it, come on.
She's hurt. She won't make it. Behind you.
Ah. Yeah. But yeah, and eventually it got to the point where I was, luckily I found a few friends I knew I could talk to because they had similar experiences. And that definitely helped a lot. And then I would meet even more people where the first time you start to talk about mental health and your issues, it can be very frightening because you don't know how people are going to react. And like I said, I had plenty of people that have reacted in a very negative way, where I knew I needed to talk about it, but I was concerned what people would think of me. Would they view it as a weakness? Would they which in most sense, I actually view it as a strength. This is part of you. This is part of something you need to fight and something that you should work through. At least that's how I viewed it for myself. And even being worried about talking about it at the same point, that
Finish this. End it now.
that nobody can, yeah, that nobody can really tell my story for me. Only I can tell my story. And if anyone listens to this, and same thing for you as well, nobody can tell your story, and you don't know until you try if maybe your story can help others just by talking about your experiences. Where one of my favorite songs on the subject is Disease by Beartooth, where there's a line in the song that says, "Will clarity be the cure for my disease?"
You say your world has collapsed.
And
Good. Let it collapse.
the more understanding you have about how to fight back, how to control, not going to that darkest place inside your mind.
Will you see the world anew?
No.
And sometimes it's not so much as a cure, but as a way to fight back. Especially when it's at its worst. And eventually, you learn that even when you have problems which would have been catastrophic before you knew how to push back against them, that you can push back them easier, that you can show others how to push back against.
Tell me truth. How did you escape your darkness?
Senua, once I found my purpose, I was no longer enslaved to the suffering I had to endure to reach it. Unclouded by fear, I could see it clearly in others. Even my captors feared the fire of Surt. And so fire, Senua, during the followed path to Surt, I took my chance and ran, knowing that they would not follow. The fool ran into the fire.
Huh.
They left me for dead. Maybe they were right to. But here I am. Free.
I'm glad I found you in the wilds. I wouldn't have made it without you.
Yeah, sadly, sometimes you learn in a very horrible way. Sometimes you can't save everyone. You can't be there for everyone. And I wish I was for a friend of mine that in the last few years wound up committing suicide. Where I would, because we had fell out of contact, but I would see his mom every once in a while. I would ask him, "Hey, you know, how's he doing?" usually she'd give the same response where, oh yeah, he's fine. He's having fun living with his friends. You know, doesn't get much chance to come home because he's so busy with work and everything. And that was a typical response to hear about him. Like, okay, that's good. You know, and sadly, wound up finding out one day that off of a Facebook post that apparently he was not as well as I kept hearing from his mom. I wish I'll say this about a lot of people that lose someone in such a horrific way, that I wish I could have been there for him, because if some people are more like myself than not, I really wasn't comfortable in when I was going through all of this, and even to some extent, well, for sure when I was going through it, and even for some extent after the fact, I wasn't comfortable talking to people about it that hadn't gone through anything similar. Come on, I'll find it. Because trying to explain to someone what it's like for your mind to essentially be put through a blender. I mean, that's really what it feels like, where everything about you is just getting ripped to shreds and getting broken inside you until there's almost nothing left. And so we found out, yeah, my friend was 45 minutes before the funeral, sadly, we found out. And I looked at my wife and said, I have to go. Gotta go. And she's like, okay. Understandable. And she had someone who could watch the kids, so that wasn't a concern. And then it came time to leave, and I looked at her and said, I can't go. She said, oh, no, it's fine. I'm like, no, I can't even. I'm so distraught by this and everything that's going on, I can't get off the couch. Because of my thought, I had the thought go through my mind, what if I say the wrong thing? What if I say something that hurts rather than helps? I mean, I know how fragile these situations can be, because I have a perspective of somebody who went through it. And told her, some of my condolences to the family. I wish I could, but I'm sorry, I just can't do it. And at the same point, was kind of kicking myself for doing that, because in the end, I thought, there are so many people that they don't see, or they haven't felt what it's like to go through severe mental health issues. And if I'm telling people constantly well, you really should talk about it, you know, be open about it. But I'm not doing it myself. I'm not sharing my story, my experiences. Then what gives me the right to try and tell someone, hey, it'll
The
really
Northmen
help
say that at Ragnarok, the sons of
tell
Muspel
people
will
your
travel to
story.
battle in the ship called Naglfar, the corpse ship. And when the sons of Muspel leave the ship and ride to battle, it will be as though the sky
So
had split open, and Surt will lead them. Wherever
definitely
he goes,
not the
flame
way I
will
would
erupt
have
before him, and fires will burn behind him.
chose to be a catalyst for motivation to talk about this kind of stuff, or try and help people understand this kind of stuff. Definitely not worth the cost. And I really do feel for anyone who loses someone this way. Yeah. And we've lost quite a few celebrities, musicians, everything from Robin Williams, Chester Bennington, even more from, I mean, it up to you whether you decide to consider suicide or just, how you categorize drug overdose. That's up to you. And, you know, Chris Farley, yeah, that was, sadly, a lot more than that. And it's just, that is one I saw before.
At Ragnarok,
Trying to look
the
for
sons
that.
of Muspel will travel to battle in the ship called
Just trying to look for
Naglfar,
one symbol.
the corpse ship. And
Could
when
have
the sons
swore
of
I thought it
Muspel
was
leave the
in
ship
here,
and ride to
but
battle,
I don't
it will
know.
be as though the sky had split open, and Surt will lead them. Wherever he goes, flame will erupt before him, and fires will burn behind him.
Come on, I know it's in there. It's in here. Okay. I think isn't. Isn't it? Hmm. Why is it not showing up? Wonder if I can get over there on the opposite side of this building. I don't know. Hmm. No, I definitely see it over in this building. Just have to figure out how to get there. Oh, sweating like crazy. It's been really hot this week. Yeah. actually, that makes more sense. It would be easier to... There we go. Got the door open.
Senua, if I can survive the fire of Surt and escape my darkness, then so can you.
Run, Senua! Run! Run! Through the fire! Keep Go on! Nothing will stop! Run, Senua! Run! 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 Through the fire!
She's dying.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. This darkness takes everything. Everyone.
Senua, are you sure you want to do this? We can fight this together, side by side. We always do.
This is my battle. I have to face it alone, away from here.
Where will you go?
I don't know.
For how long?
I don't know.
I believe in you. You know that. Just promise me that you will come back to me. I want you to say it. I want you to say it.
I will come back to you. I promise.
Come on.
Spill the blood of Surt and take his mark, and I will change you from the underworld and forever be in your debt.
You destroyed everything, everyone, but not me. Fight me now!
She's hurt. There's blood. Quickly get up. They're coming. It's not over. It's not over. Stop it now. What's he doing?
Oh, okay. Now I got it. I gotta time that better. Dang it. Come on.
Stop him! Stop him! What's wrong? Stop right now. It's too hot. Focus now.
Dang it. Come on.
See past it.
Yeah, like they say, the kind of said there, the darkness takes everything.
A greater battle takes its place. And so it goes. Until we fall. And in the end, we all fall. And the gods have their time. Yet we still go on. Why?
I made a promise, and I will go to hell to keep
I
it.
die free, knowing you will carry my stories with you. I have fulfilled my quest.
Yes, you have.
When the darkness comes, I vow to guide you in this life and the next to fulfill yours.
Then I will see you in hell.
Be ready to face horror in the eye, as I have. To find your answers. Your quest. Your truth.
Yeah, after you go
Was a
through
troubled man.
traumatic experience like so many have, or
They tortured him,
like I have,
took him with them on their raids, drove him to madness,
going through that kind of darkness changes
spreading this new form of
everything.
darkness to new worlds,
Changes how you
to my world.
look at life, how you perceive it, how you perceive the people around you, how you perceive the struggles that you've gone through.
Senua saw a deep connection form between the Northmen and the darkness. If his tales of hell were true, then that was the source of it. She learned everything she could from him, until she too could see what he saw.
Remember, should be done with this area. Maybe I just gotta run all the way back to the beginning now. Yeah, I'm very grateful that
Have you ever died before? It's a serious question.
Ninja Theory made this
The illusion
game
of self is shattered. You simply
that has
feel
given me the opportunity to talk to
though it
just
may
a
not
couple
seem
of
that way
friends
to others. You know when it is true.
that they were confused why,
Feel it.
more or less why, they knew the game was made about mental health issues, but at the same time they didn't know why
It's the same every
certain
time.
things happened to the game that were screwing with their minds so much.
Senua has died before. And she will do so again.
Where without anything to relate it to or be able to give a visual to explain it, you're trying to paint an image in their mind. It's hard to let anyone know what it's like going through that kind of trauma. And I started explaining to a few friends what it was like to go through the issues and like enemies disappearing and reappearing being akin to the enemies you fight in your mind, how they can attack at different points, and how it feels like you're shadow boxing your problems but you can't hit them. Oh, come on. How even the controls being... Well, before they didn't tell you the controls at all. Dang it, come on. And how it was like trying to wade your way through a minefield where you didn't know why your mind was acting in such a way, and you kind of had to figure it out, whether you did it through therapy or trial and error in yourself. And even to the point of how the game ends. Ah, come on.
She's injured.
Gotta...
He's down. Finish.
Almost the aspect of when you're at the end of... Some people it's harder to face their issues than not. Some people... When I say end, I mean end of true crisis, not end of all crisis. Oh, come on.
Quickly get up. They're coming. It's not over. It's not over. This far, she take him down. Take him down now. Ignore the pain.
Where I know there's a way to combat this.
Finish this. Finish this. She will die.
What is... Dang it. No, there's a way. Okay.
Get up quick! She's hurt. She won't make it.
There we go.
She can't get through. Why not? She can't.
Okay.
Just one. She's only. Is the other test? Is there
Valravan, ancestor of the seers and master of ravens. He hunts his prey with his powers of illusion and feasts on their remains. Follow the path to Valravan and defeat him in battle to earn his mark. The gate to Helheim cannot be opened without it.
Well, seems like a good place to end it tonight. Hopefully this video helps someone or helps you through your own problems, or give somebody a little bit of perspective what it's like in somebody's mind that gone through severe trauma or mental health issues, points of crisis. And I just hope my story helps someone. I want to thank you all for watching, and if you want to talk, you could either drop something in the comments on YouTube, or you can find me on Xbox Live and PSN at Back from Dead 1. If you want to talk and jump in the party and chat, or you can hit me up on Twitter at Back from Dev 1. Then on Twitter there's a pinned tweet that has a link to my YouTube channel. Twitch is at Back from the Dev 1, and yeah, hope you know it's not an easy video for me to make, and also to kind of give people a perspective on another side of who I am, and give you an idea of the kind of music I like. Yeah, if you want a little bit lighter side of me, you can check out a one-on-one interview I did on Spooky Sprockets YouTube channel. Fantastic YouTuber and friend that I really appreciate, and gave me the chance to go on his podcast and sorry, and be able to get a little bit more in-depth behind the scenes about myself. So yeah. But yeah, everyone, have a great night and have fun gaming.